Good morning. Welcome to day 30, Quantum's Liberty. Hope this day is finding you well. Thank you, birdies. Some water. Today on the phone with me, I have a beautiful girl, Kimma. She's from the Amazon. We are going to be talking about, she's a 12-year-old, and she had a beautiful dream. She's a painter. Her dream, and this is fitting on Indigenous Peoples Day, was that she dreamt that the sun was actually our shadow. And so we were talking about healing. There's a lot of COVID-19 going on down there. And so we were going to do some tapping on immune boosting for their community down in the Amazon. And so we know that we'll start on the karate chop point. Kimma's on the phone, and she's going to be repeating after me when we start doing the talk about the way to use the tapping points. So we know from tapping research, and just tap along with me right on the karate chop point or the side of the hand point. And you can go like this or this hand. Either way, it's all a very forgiving process. So you can do both sides or one side or the other. And if you miss a point, that's okay too. Just follow along. So what Kimma was saying was that with the sun as a shadow, as opposed to, being a shadow on our bodies, as opposed to being the light, she felt like this was kind of a dangerous thing. But the idea also in her dream was that, well, if the sun is the shadow on my body, then the universe, the space must be very bright. So something is even brighter than the sun. And so that was just a beautiful, beautiful vision. In EFT, what we know, that the research on EFT shows that we have to tap on all of our old stress first. So you can't get through to the light, right? You have to integrate the shadow and the light. You have to deal with the shadow. So you have to deal with those thoughts. And what this does, tapping on this point, is it slows the firing to the amygdala, which is your fight-flight system. So when you have these disturbing images, you can have the images in your brain, but the slowing of the firing will slow down the amount of cortisol and adrenaline that is released to your arms and your legs. And so instead that added, the lowered cortisol level will increase the blood flow to your oxygen, increase the blood flow, which carries the oxygen to your prefrontal cortex, where it will stay there instead of running down to your arms and legs where you can run from danger. So that's an ancient mechanism, and we can utilize these acupuncture points that will help us to just really systematically and technically reduce the amount of cortisol and adrenaline that is flooding into our bodies, and instead we can keep the oxygen going. Instead from the arms and legs to run, it will stay in our brain to actually dilate the vessels in the prefrontal cortex, which is our awake center and our self-awareness center. So we know from research that tapping does reduce cortisol levels 37% in 1 week of tapping and meditation. And it also raises your immunoglobulin levels 113%, in particular the IgAs of your respiratory system, which is really helpful during the COVID-19 crisis. So I thought during Indigenous Day, we would do immune boosting. So we'll tap on any resistance that we have to that beautiful radiant light of the sun, casting, shadows and light upon our bodies. So any shadows that you have, any resistances, inside your body that you have to having perfect radiant health. We'll tap first on that, and then we'll tap on deserving and allowing that resistance, or that allowing that shadow and the sun to integrate in our bodies, and then integrate it all with a vision of radiant health, and just absolutely lovely, coherent, vibrant body and cells. And we'll talk a little bit about the science of that too. But for Indigenous Day, Chief Seattle in the mid-1850s, he wrote a letter to Washington, D.C. in his native language. And it was translated I believe by John Smith. And then Joseph Campbell also did a nice job with that translation, talking about the mythology of what we are here on our planet. Indigenous peoples brought us a beautiful, beautiful letter, or even a speech from Chief Seattle. And in that, Chief Seattle said this: we know that all things are connected like the blood that unites us. We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. Now, in recent research in quantum chemistry, we know that there is a long-range coherence and energy storage in biological systems. And that was a study by Frohlich of the University of Liverpool. And also another scientist, and that person's name is McTaggart. Keep on tapping, nice deep breaths. And that was out of Edinburgh, and that was in energy medicine and the field. And so in quantum chemistry, what Frohlich said was that that the crystalline phospholipids just below the cell membrane, they could synchronize their activities between proteins and the system as a whole. So he showed that at a certain energy thresholds, molecules begin to vibrate in unison until they reach a high level of coherence. When we're tapping, our brain waves on EEG are preparing and producing a higher level of coherence, which means it's less erratic but more systematic, right? And Frohlich saw in his studies that the moment that molecules reach this state of coherence, they take on certain qualities of quantum mechanics, including non-locality. They get to the point where they can operate in tandem. So then the science also said that that this affected. So when her dream was that this shadow was creating a shadow on her body from the sun, and the sun was actually the shadow maker. So what they're saying here is that once you have a vibration in your body, that the biological system, the connective tissue, and the cytoskeleton together, they form a structural, functional, and energetic continuum, extending into every nook and cranny of your body, even into the cell nucleus and genetic material. And all forms of energy are rapidly generated, conducted, interpreted, and converted from one to another in sophisticated ways within the living matrix. No part of the organism is separate from this matrix. So we are living, and this is what McTaggart talks about, we are in a field, a quantum field. So I have this beautiful book too. I thought I'd share with you this beautiful photo for Indigenous Peoples Days. This mother eagle, brother eagle, sister sky, and these glorious paintings are done by Susan Jeffries. So let's imagine ourselves in perfect radiant health And close your eyes and take a nice deep breath. Thanks so much for bringing this up, Kimmy. It's really appreciated. And I want you to imagine your body in perfect radiant health. Imagine that beautiful, vibrating, lovely, all the connective tissue, all the cells, all the blood, everything flowing beautifully, radiant and free and lovely and healthy. And I want you to then notice any shadow or anything inside of your body that is obstructing or saying, no, I can't have that. And just focus on that right now. Where is that in your body? Feel that inside of your body. Locate it, and then just write that area in the sky where you feel that. It might be that you have it a little bit in your toes, or it might be that you feel it on your back, or as a weight on your shoulders, lifting your shoulders way up and tense, or just name the area, shoulders, back, legs, and write it in the sky. And then I also want you to focus on, nice deep breaths, what is the number of that on 0 to 10? 10 being the worst that pain could ever be, that resistance is really, really strong, I can't have this radiant health. Or is it a 0 where, oh, I'm absolutely there, I have radiant health, I'm there. So just give it a number, and a 0 to 10, and write that in the sky too, because then afterwards we're going to say, well, what is the number now? So let's say, okay, so Kimmy's got her number and her spot, and you guys do that too. So first of all, we will tap on the resistance. So tapping on the karate chop point, because this is going to block the flow to the amygdala. So following and then repeating after me. Even though I have this resistance to radiant health, I deeply and completely love and accept myself exactly as I am. Even though I have this resistance to perfect, beautiful, radiant health, and I feel like this is a big shadow on my life, I deeply and completely love and accept myself exactly as I am. Even though I have this resistance in me that says, no, I can't have that radiant health, I honor it, accept it inside of me exactly as I am. I'm just going to put this aside for a moment so it doesn't fall down. Let's see, I guess it's all right. Okay, so now we'll tune into the resistance. This resistance to radiant health, this resistance to any and all radiant health, this deep dark shadow upon my body, this shadow running across my body, this deep resistance to health. I feel this resistance. I feel the resistance running through me. I cannot have this vision of radiant health. I can't have this radiant health in my body. I feel this resistance. I feel this resistance so strong. It's going to take me down. I'm going to run from it. I just can't face this. I can't have it in my life. I can't have this radiant health. No. Resistance. Say it loudly, resistance. Tapping on the karate chop point. Say it loudly, resistance. This resistance to the radiant health. This deep, dark shadow on my body, in my body. This is resistance. I feel the resistance. Maybe I don't need this resistance. Maybe I deserve radiant health. I deserve to have this flowing radiant health. I deserve this flowing radiant health. I deserve this beautiful energy system. I deserve everything. I deserve joy. I deserve health, with or without COVID-19, in my environment. I am me with COVID-19 in my environment. I am me without COVID-19 in my environment. I am me whether or not there is COVID-19. I deserve this beautiful health. I deserve to have this. We're going to stay right here for a couple minutes, for a minute. I am me with or without COVID-19 in my environment. I deserve to have radiant health. I deserve to have a good immune system. I allow this good immune system. I am walking with radiant health. I am talking with radiant health. I smell and taste with radiant health. I vibrate with radiant health. I am that vision. Inside the eye, I am that vision of radiant health. Outside the eye, I am walking and talking and thinking with absolute radiant health. Under the eye, I am that. Under the nose, I am that radiant vision. Chin, I am that radiant vision. Collarbone point, I am that radiant person. With or without COVID-19 in my environment. Under the arm, I am that radiant person. Top of the head, I am that radiant being in mind, body, and spirit in radiant health. Stay on the top of the head. We love this earth as a newborn loves its mother's heartbeat. If we sell you our land, care for it as we have cared for it. Hold in your mind the memory of the land as it is when you receive it. Preserve the land and the air and the rivers for your children's children, and love it as we have loved it. Thank you, Chief Seattle, and our Indigenous Peoples Day, and Kimma.